New set deck build stuff, or we
Yeah.
just whatever?
We're live. We should be. I don't know if anyone else
We're
is here.
live.
Yeah,
All right.
I doubt it. Just to I'm gonna double check because this is like plugging a USB in. I'm never sure if it actually works the first time. So I think my audio's fine. Colonel DJ will complain otherwise. All right, Shadow is here. Well, so we have someone. And can you say
Hey
some
Shadow,
stuff?
did we put the link up in Discord?
No. Yeah, at least I know you're not on mute. Let me check that it's actually
Yeah, that's good.
that I have a live thing going on. My computer crawls to a halt when I'm doing this.
I can see us on YouTube.
Hey, there you go. That's
So,
half the battle.
like we're good.
Why don't you send the link then?
I can do that.
Oh, I got it now. I'm gonna have weird feedback if I probably do too much stuff. Probably not gonna want go to Ash's live just in case we need anything. Are you sharing it? Oops. Put myself.
All right. Link is up.
All right, cool.
We're up. What's going on, man?
You know, I have been following too much of the conversations in Team Covenant and letting it irrationally irritate me when I have nothing invested in it.
Yeah, that'll happen. That's why I don't listen to them.
Yeah, otherwise, missing all my games, basically. Missed the game for PL last week against Clue. He was having a sick day or whatever, and then missed. I haven't played my game this week. Haven't played any Blitz games. Haven't played First Friday League. I got like 6 games to catch up on. I'm not even that busy.
Need to get your ashes on, man. I missed my game against Abby this morning, my Phoenix League game. Life happened, and I needed to get my kids to school, and then I did not make it in time.
That's the problem.
We're gonna do that again on Thursday. Yeah,
life happens too much. We need less
life to happen. Yeah, right.
I fell asleep last night. We were supposed to stream, and
yeah, that's okay. I was on the couch like waiting, and I was half asleep too, and then I realized like I fell asleep at like 10 on like sitting up on the couch waiting for my phone to buzz.
Yeah.
And then I woke up at like 10:40. I looked at my phone. I was like, yeah, he's asleep. I'm going to sleep.
Well, I think I told you that we went to Great Wolf Lodge this past weekend for a little trip. So it was like, full on, lots of excitement, lots of things. And then I think it was just sort of a combination of catching up on lack of sleep and the come down from the adrenaline that yesterday night was like half an hour before normal bedtime, and she was miserable. So it was a whole thing, and then I lay down with her, and she fell asleep, and I fell asleep holding her, and then next thing I know, it's like 1 o'clock, and I'm like, oops. All right, so
yep. Yeah, no, that happens, especially with Great Wolf Lodge and Magi Quest, man. That's some tiring stuff.
It was. I don't know how many kilometers or miles, I guess, I walked up and down stairs and around the resort. Like,
it's ridiculous, dude. Magi Quest is insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's a great idea. It's genius from like a business perspective, but it's also just really good implementation of technology, like AR, sort of pseudo AR, and physical, like a scavenger hunt thing that pulls in kids and family. It's great. It's genius.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I was in Gatlinburg, Tennessee a few years ago for family vacation. They have a Magi Quest castle in Gatlinburg that's just Magi Quest.
Whoa.
And nothing else. We didn't get to go in there. So like that was one of the things we didn't do. But like we had just been to Great Wolf Lodge recently, so we had just done it, and I was like down on it because I run around and did the whole thing, and I was like, I don't need to do that for a while, but now I could go back and try it again.
Yeah.
if they improve it, if they like keep developing it, I think it could be a really cool thing. But as it stands, especially for like younger kids, it's really fun.
Yeah, yeah. There
And
there
they
was
have water slide stuff there, so like it's a cool place.
yeah, there's a lot to like. So it was good. And yeah, so that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to post tax season? Are you just
Yeah,
chilling now?
kind of. I mean, just trying to get back into the normal swing of things. Tax season always seems to be worse and worse every year. It doesn't matter like what the circumstances are; it just never gets easier. It just always gets harder. Um, and I mean, I worked a lot. I just like stopped playing Ashes altogether. I just didn't have time. Um, I played a little bit of cards with my family at home, but it was mostly Lorcana because that's what they want to play. So like that was if I had any time for that, it was with them, and it was that. And I like followed all the Ashes talk and stuff, but just didn't get to play any games. So now I'm like trying to get back into Ashes because I miss it. I did play one Blitz game so far this morning.
Okay.
Um, that was good. That went well. Good game against No Such Method. I'd had a better draw than him, I think. We were talking about it a bit in our pod channel today. Um, I drew really well. He didn't, and it swung my way. But I've played a couple other games too. I played a Phoenix League game against. I got to play Charlotte. That was my first game back, which was awesome because I play her all the time, and I miss playing against her. We had a really good one. Um, I think I played Kip in a Phoenix League game too, and had a pretty good game. So I've had a few games since in the last couple of weeks. It's felt good to get back playing some cards, and feels even better to talk about it tonight, I think.
Are you seeing, well, I guess I can't say the three players that you've played against would be playing the current discussion, the boogeyman of the month, which is
Yeah.
Burn, because Charlotte doesn't tend to play that. I don't know about Kip. I think he experiments more with different types of archetypes and prison and realm walker and stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
no such is
So
famously anti-meta.
yeah. So Kip played a fatigued or like a well, no, it wasn't a fatigue deck. It was a Hope Shadowhounds deck, but it had spin down in it.
Okay.
Not a lot of no burn. It was not in the burn colors. It was like illusion, charm, um, something else. There was like no nature and ceremonial. It was off color for burn. Um, I don't remember what Charlotte played against me at this point. I feel like it was some kind of mid rangey type deck. I played Aerodel as my first game back, so I couldn't remember anything, so I just picked the deck that I knew the best and
Was it the
played
Rejuvenate
it.
Cobra one?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
still have not
and
played with Rejuvenate. I don't think a single
dude,
game.
it's cool, man. Rejuvenate
Yeah.
Cobra is really good. I haven't rejuvenated a lot of other stuff, but it's really good with Cobra.
There's a lot of
Now I
cards
don't
I
know
haven't
if
played with. Have you played with every card? I mean, you're in the play test group, but like,
but well, I'm in the playtest group, but I don't playtest hardly at all. I haven't even looked at the playtest group in a while. Actually, I mean, I looked at nothing during tax season, so that was the last thing on my mind. Um, but I probably have not played with every card. I don't think I have. Um, but I don't know. I'm sure I haven't actually.
yeah, I have a couple like intentional decks that I've sort of even put a couple cards in or fully built the deck that it's just around the idea of I haven't used this card, so I need to do so. Um, and I'm hoping that I get around to them. I usually play those types of games. I play against Shadow because we stay up late at night, and also we know so much of each other's decks that it's fun to just play something fresh and new and casual and not really care about it. Or I use First Five League for that same thing.
Yeah,
Just testing out different ideas of cards I've never played before. But we had a crazy game the other night. It was really intense. It came down to 2 health and 1 health, and it was whoever, like, he played a great game. I messed up in one spot, but it was a wild back and forth, and it's just fun to get those games in. But I haven't
yeah.
played any of my Blitz games yet. I'm doing this instead of playing. Charlotte and Matt are both in my pod. I think. So I got some competition. I forget who else is in there. But
Yeah, I mean
it's going
that's
to be
how all the
intense.
pods are. It's
Oh, they're all death
like my
pods
pod
these
is
days.
yeah. I think I have No Such, Ninja Dance Mat, Brian B, and Kip. I think is my pod and me.
Yeah, and the other
Um,
one is like
it's
Fred Carl and whatever.
yeah,
So
it's all difficult stuff. Um, so what I mean, I was interested to talk kind of about if there's a meta for Blitz and how it changes versus normal ashes because I think about it a bit differently,
yeah.
and I'm wondering if my like opinions are that of the ashes whole or at least of you and anyone else that's in the chat.
Well, I mean, so our
Like, what do you think?
it's impossible to talk about the meta and like I mean, as an online community, we define what the meta is, and either because of the players, like who we are, or just as a result of you know any local group of people will evolve naturally based off of what each other is trying. I feel like
Yeah,
we move always to cult of the new. Like, there's only ever been one, I can say, defined meta, and that was the Hope Creepers, J.K. Brennan, and then everything else is not about like the best of the best. It like moves along in sort of pairs of who plays together. So like Carl and Brian, you'll often see have similar decks. And there's a couple other people who will have similar followings, and then a couple people who just play always the off stuff. Like I think you tend to play a little more off because you either dislike Herald, for instance, when that was the big thing, or I'll play sort of off metas as well. But Blitz is interesting because I don't know if it's necessarily about the meta as much as like whatever is the current thing as it is about what you're or it should be what you're comfortable with, because it's about fast decisions, and the only way to make fast decisions is if you know the lines of play better. I mean, you can play anything really, and I've done that a couple times to my detriment. I think I lost to Carl in the finals of the first Blitz tournament because I knew what he was going to play, so I built a deck specifically to counter him, but there were so many side actions and I didn't have any reps with the deck that I just ran out of time, like on the last few seconds.
yeah,
Charlotte's dropping in, Bill's dropping in, saying, "Let's talk, join the hunt." Actually, we should touch on that
we
at some
should,
point.
dude.
And
Yeah,
yeah, so that's my take on it. At least that's how I think a person should play, is the things that they're comfortable with, um, as opposed to trying to mind game the tournament. Um,
yeah,
because otherwise, like, I don't think the style in particular really matters. I think there were at one point people were saying, "Oh, don't play. You can't play mill decks, and burn decks will tend to be the primary thing because it's easy to just draw a burn and then play it." But it's just as hard in a burn deck to evaluate the number of decisions and not lose by just going all out as it is to play a bunch of doves and cobras and just sit and like play your one swing or play a card and then pass, right? It's there's fewer
yeah,
decision points in both of those styles, but it's about knowing the matchups.
yeah. I don't know. I agree with a lot of what you said. I do think that having fewer decision points and being knowledgeable about your deck is gonna matter. Um, I'm not sure that I necessarily agree that the slower decks are still good. Like, I mean, I played a bunch of that Turbo Leo fatigue deck
Mm-hmm.
last meta, right? And that deck I think mills you faster than any deck I've ever seen. Like it
Yeah.
that's the whole point of it. Um I would not play it in Blitz. I don't think I could win a game in 12 minutes of clock. And not because I don't know it well, um, but I think just because it takes a while. Like you have to both players have to deck out. That just takes more than 2 or 3 rounds of time
Well, you don't
to
have to deck
do
out.
it.
You don't have to. So that's the thing about blitz is you do not, at least with the mill deck, you do not have to win on fatigue in blitz.
I mean, you can win on their clock, right?
Yeah,
Like, is that what you mean? But
yeah.
then I think if they realize it's a fatigue deck, they can purposely start taking faster turns because you're not doing a whole lot other than, you know what I mean? I think they could probably use their clock more efficiently. Not to mention, abundance gives you a bunch of cards in your hand, and that does create more decision points. I guess to your point, because you have more options.
But for both players. So
Correct.
inevitably, like with abundance, you are always going to take the two cards. The other person may or may not. I think most oftentimes, at least in blitz, you're just going to click take and go, right? And
Yeah.
then evaluating your own decisions, at least with the turbo style, I think is actually easier than something like a zookeeper deck where it's playing for the
Yeah, I wouldn't play
long
that either.
game, right? Like it's
Mhm.
playing for the long game, but the trades matter. Whereas if you can force your opponent to have to act fast because they're like, oh, he's playing a fatigue game, so I'm just going to swing, 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 that almost benefits you more. I think like it's almost like playing against Fallen on Blitz, right? It you're more worried about, okay, I'm just going to keep swinging, and sort of it gets to you where you don't think you have the decision space to really think about, okay, I have to set up these swings and set up next turn and clear the board in such a specific way. So you're just reacting, and that benefits, say, the fallen player, or even like, creepers, same sort of thing. I think I lost to Carl against creepers because there were so many things to try and think about the sequencing that I wasted a ton of time trying to plan that out as if it was a normal game, but you can't. So then you just start rushing those decisions, and inevitably you're going
Yeah.
to make a mistake.
Yeah, so I guess I do agree that, I mean, you should play the decks that you're most familiar with, that you know the lines the best.
Yeah.
Um, but I also think there's a there's a bit of an art to building a deck that doesn't have a lot of key decision points, right?
Yes.
Like I've tended to build really fast things for Blitz, and it's partly because it's Blitz, right? And I only have 12 minutes, and I don't want to play for the long game necessarily because I don't know that I can do what I want to do and accomplish what I want to accomplish in the time that I have. And I also don't trust myself to play faster or use my clock more efficiently than my opponent. When I'm playing like competitive ashes, I get in the tank quite a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm tanked more than my opponents are, so I don't necessarily want to give myself a deck that I'm gonna have to think through complicated sequencing lines.
Mm-hmm.
And that usually lends me towards like wide, fast stuff.
Right.
Um, where you don't have to think a whole lot. Like today, and I'll say this because I don't know that I'm gonna play this deck again. In the pod, I'll probably switch stuff up. But I played um my James Raptor Herder deck
Mm-hmm.
against No Such this morning. And I played it because my son told me. I asked Ben. I was like, "Hey, I'm playing Blitz. Who should I play?" He was like, "You should play James Endersight out of nowhere." And I was like, "Really? Why?" He's like, "Well, nobody plays him. I've never seen anybody play him before." And I was like, "Okay, I can make that work for Blitz." So I just went and found my um the latest version of my summon 58 Raptor Herders in round one deck,
Yep.
and figured this is a good blitz deck, right? Because I know what I want to do in round one. I just want to put out as many one life things as I can. I'm gonna swing for as much damage as possible in round one, and I'm gonna rely on drawing into burn spells or more wide stuff in round two. And I'd like to win in 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, seems like a good blitz plan for me. And I mean, that's basically what happened. I No Such was playing a hope deck that had Wishing Wing. It drew a bunch of cards. Um, and I think he could have drawn some answers off of some of the Wishing Wing draws, but didn't.
Mm.
And that hurt him. And I drew into a Molten Gold and a Sympathy Pain in round 2, which was good, right? And I think I got 8 or 9 damage through in round 1 off of I Raptor Herder into Spectral Assassin, second Raptor Herder, James for a third Raptor Herder, and I also opened Sleeping Widows, which was the first time I had done that post chain.
Nice, yeah.
And I think he swung into at one point swung into a Raptor Hatchling or something, just to kind of try and disrupt my flow. And when I only had 2 guys down, and I just let it die and popped it into a Widows, and then got in for a bunch. But yeah, it's just get in for 9, and then I think I had an extra die at the end of round 1, so I picked up a Fire Archer from the discard pile, and then I Jamesed for a second Fire Archer in round 2 and had Empathy Pain and Molten Gold, and that's pretty much all you need.
Yeah.
Um,
Charlotte says she hates that deck.
Yeah, I know she does. I played it against her quite a few times back when we were playing a lot of Sunday morning games, and I was working on it. I haven't played it in a while, but it's good for blitz because it's just one of those things where, like I said, I can just vomit a bunch of stuff onto the board. I'm swinging at the Phoenixborn all the time. I'm not even like thinking about attacking units, right? And just throw everything I have at the Phoenixborn and go.
So do you tend to lean on swing decks, or just like round 1 swarm followed by all burn, or like do you avoid side action cards or reaction cards?
No. I haven't. I think more about the sequencing lines, like you said before, like how how much do I care about evenly trading on the battlefield in this game? If I don't care about it a lot, then I know that I'm going to spend less time than my opponent making those decisions. But it's risk reward, right? If you play a game like that, and that it goes for regular Ashes too, not just Blitz, right? If that's how you're going to play, you have to make sure you kill them fast enough. If you don't kill them fast enough, you will lose. If they take over the board and can stabilize the life total, you're dead.
Do you turn off any of the settings?
No.
Like,
but I don't have a lot of them on anyway. But
no, like bluff timer or what is that, 1 click?
No. Button? Yeah, I don't turn any of that stuff off. I just pay attention to it.
Right.
A little bit more. I don't like turning the bluff timer off because I don't like giving my opponent information in Ashteki that they otherwise wouldn't have in the normal game.
Yeah.
So I try and leave that on. I'm really conscious of that all the time. Like I even try, like when that bluff timer starts going, I try and click pass in the same amount of time every time.
Yeah.
Because I don't like giving my opponent any information at all. Right. I'm always trying to do that. But in Blitz I just click through it.
Okay.
Really as fast as I can.
I think I have turned off one of the settings. I tried it once. I think the one that does 1-click actions without confirming, or clicking where you don't have to click cancel if you've already selected something. And because I don't play like that regularly, I got tripped up and made mistakes more often. And then I was like, damn it. Like now, I've played the wrong card, or I accidentally, accepted something that I didn't want to. And then it sort of snowballs and you ruin your plan. And then, so I just don't do that anymore. I try and pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other reason I don't do it, is because I get nervous that I'm going to screw something up.
Yeah.
Because you get that muscle memory of what you normally do, and then you're clicking in places where buttons don't exist and stuff when when you change that. So I don't like to do it.
Do you
But
there was conversation around the whether the clock should end the game immediately or whether um the adjustment which I think suits the updated tournament rules, which was that you get to finish your turn. Do you like that or
yeah,
do you like the old way where it just ended?
I mean, I was in the camp that whatever was easier for administering it is what should have been done. I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
Um, I guess if we're gonna stay within the spirit of Blitz, it probably should end as soon as the clock's over. But I mean, I don't care. What about you?
Um I there's merits. I can go both ways. I like the idea that if you were going to win because all you had to do was play a card or swing, that you get to finish that because you have the win and then it's more of like who is better mechanically. Like it's like a who's better at clicking through prompts and reading, which to me is not about, it doesn't really involve the aspect of blitz. Like it's not, to me blitz is about making fast decisions and being instinctive and knowing your plan and playing that quickly rather than who's the fastest at clicking through prompts and moving their mouse or doing stuff that is outside of the game.
Right.
um because I think of the case where if you were playing in person and it came down to like all you had to do was play molten gold from hand, you would just be like, you would just drop the card, right? It's like I have the
Yeah.
dice, drop the card, I win. And at least as far as if that was done to me, it'd be like, oh yeah, of course you have it. I'm not going to wait for you to flip the dice and do it. You have
Right.
the win in hand. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, it also makes sense to just follow in debate. Follow the way the rules were updated to accommodate for that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I'm good either way. I don't care how we do it.
yeah. So okay, so you go with simple decision making decks. Do you also do it so that whatever deck you play, you sort of just play a fixed first five or at least a first four with one flex, so it's easy?
Eh, I don't that I'm not so sure about, but probably like, most of those
Okay.
decks that I build that are like that usually do have a pretty set open, or I have like two opens or something that I know I'm gonna do one of the two, and I just take a quick look at the Phoenix Born and the dice spread and pick the one and do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I did spend a little bit of time. I probably spent 30 or 40 seconds on my first five today,
Okay.
deciding on the last card. Like, just I knew I was starting. I knew three or four cards I was starting, and I'd spent a little bit of time debating on whether I was going to start like Sleeping Widows or um the other thing that I used to start that I forget, Blood Chains or something. I think I used to start Blood Chains in there so that I can play a fourth Raptor Herder. Um,
So
but
ridiculous.
yeah, it's and I went back and forth on that a little bit, but I think generally you should probably have a pretty good idea of how you're going to open against, at least know what you're going to do against Phoenix Born and dice spreads
Hmm.
before you start the game. Like, if I see Leo with a bunch of charm dice, I should have a plan for how I'm going to first five against a fatigue deck. Or, if I see Astria and Burn Colors, I should have an idea of how I'm going to first five against that. Or at least like the stuff that you expect to see, you should kind of know what you're going to do
Yeah. Right.
before you go into the match, at least.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um. All right. So I think. Well, I'm hoping. I don't know. Is Blitz open, like public? Can we stream games?
I think so. I mean, it's pods, but I don't know. I don't think we've really talked about that, but we probably could.
I'm hoping we can at least, if not for pods, then
See you, Charlotte. Take care.
yeah,
He's
just
dropping off.
ciao, Charlotte. Charlotte. It would be cool if we could do semis or final, like
Yeah.
if they're scheduled. That would be neat because they're fast. So it's like, okay, if you got 15 minutes, whatever, I could even do it during my lunch to accommodate, whatever Brankus or Ninja or Underrug if they're in the finals. But that would be cool. I had a question, and now I'm trying to remember what it was. All
Yeah,
right.
Carl says you can change decks, so there's no reason we couldn't stream. So yeah, I agree with that. I think he's probably right.
Okay. So Carl, this stems from some of Carl's recent concern over elo numbers as a metric for measuring activity in the competitive scene. And I was wondering, first of all, what your thoughts are in terms of community activity, participation, growth, and related to that, whether you think the fact that we haven't had a normal tournament like a AIL or Waves Open or any one of those previous tournaments that we did every other year, if we haven't had one to date, if that is at all impacting the current scene, or if the current setup with legendary, well, the knockout arenas, the monthlies, and Phoenix League and First Five is sort of enough where it actually covers a broader group of people.
Yeah, I don't know because I haven't been involved in it in the last couple of months. I signed up for Legendary this time. It'll be the first time I've ever done it, I think.
Right.
Unless I did the first one and got knocked out fast, which might have happened. Um, so it's kind of hard to tell. I haven't been plugged into that in a while. Um, I don't. I guess the only thing I could say about it is, a newer player isn't going to get a lot out of a single elimination tournament. I mean, that's why we have the under 1500 elo, right?
Mm-hmm.
For that purpose, and I get that. I mean, if they jump in the legendary one and get knocked out in one game, they don't get a ton of experience. But at the same time, like you have Phoenix League every week, we have First Five, or we have Friday League, we have under 15 knockout. I mean, I kind of think it's enough. Um, that being said, I do kind of like the big Swiss tournaments. Like I missed the shuffle bus days kind of where there was like, hype around the decks everybody was gonna play, and then hype around each round. It took a week and a half to play these rounds or whatever, and there's a lot of chatter about the tournament as it's going. I do kind of miss that. But I mean, I also am cool with the format that we have, so maybe I'm too indifferent tonight, man. I don't have any opinions. I'm just like whatever. I don't care. It's it's fine as it is.
Yeah, no, it was something that I was thinking about because I too miss the, I don't know if you want to call them like quarterly almost, big tournaments
Yeah.
that there was hype around. Although a lot of them, it's divisive because some people prefer open, some people prefer closed, and so in closed for some people is better, stress wise. I think for me it was better stress wise, at least early on. But at the same time, with a lot of the closed formats, then you don't get the hype and excitement because there aren't the deck reveals, there aren't the I mean, there's no one else really streaming any games other than us,
Yeah.
the odd time, and we're certainly not as rigorous or dedicated. But it was at least fun because you could pop in without worry about scouting, because it was like, well, the deck
Yeah.
list is already there, so it does nothing, right? You can pop in any game, and sometimes you would see these, like 5-10 of us in a game all spectating, and it was kind of, I remember one of
Right.
those tournaments I set up an impromptu like everyone join chat and let's just talk about the game we're watching. I don't remember who was playing, but it was late night and there was 11 of us in chat and it was kind of fun and chaos. Um, so some of that I miss, but I don't know about like whether those individual things are affecting numbers to any large degree, right? I think there's natural
Yeah.
fluctuations in the +5 -5 of the regulars, mostly due to seasonal changes, semester, school, work, those types of natural ebbs and flows. But yeah,
I,
I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
I wonder if like if so I don't well I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna talk about Lorcana for 2 seconds. Um
Okay.
there's a lot of like in that game, everybody talks about like the ink color combination. So there's 6 different ink colors. You can play 2 of them in your deck, right?
Yeah.
And so when people are talking about decks, they don't really talk a lot about the composition of the cards in the deck. They'll be like, well, they played Ruby Amethyst, or they played Emerald Steel, or they played Amber Steel. Like that's how they talk about it. And I wonder if at the beginning, like if we can't agree on open or closed deck lists, like I wonder if revealing the Phoenix Born and the dice spread for everybody at the beginning without the cards would be a decent compromise that we could at least have like some hype about and discuss. Like, oh look, Carl's playing a ceremonial nature sympathy hope deck, and what could be in there and stuff. Like then we start talking about like we have a little bit of hype about that kind of thing, or hey, look, no such is on Sembali with charm, illusion, and divine. Like that's you don't see that every day. Like what could be in there?
Yeah.
Um, now you
Brankus
don't
is
know the
on
card.
Jessa Nature Ceremonial Sympathy. I wonder what he's
Oh
playing.
yeah, gosh, I wonder what he's playing. Um,
And he mind games
but
he mind games the hell out
yeah,
of it and plays something completely different.
right,
Bone Crow and
yeah,
whatever else.
yeah. Opens up with Triple Knight Open, Hammer Knight, Master Vampire.
Yeah.
Something. um, but like at least then it takes a lit. I mean, there'd be a little bit of like first 5 stress
Yeah.
during the week. But like, because you're like, all right, I know I'm against this Phoenix Born. I know I'm against this dice spread. What do I think they have? What am I going to open? But it's not to the degree of like when you know their whole list. It's like I would sit there and try and think of every possible combination of 5 cards that they
Yeah.
could come at me with, and it's like, what do I have that would combat this? And if they do this, what do I? And then you start going like back and forth forever. It just like overwhelmed my brain like crazy. But here I feel like it's okay. I know it's hope with illusion and whatever else. All right, I probably have to deal with Shadowhound. Here's my plan against that. That's not too bad. I don't feel
Yeah.
like from a first 5 stress level, but it would at least allow some hype and some of that that we're that we miss. And if it were up to me, I would just say everybody that wants to spectate, spectate. I don't care if we scout. I don't care if like I just don't care. If you were in an online or like a live tournament, right? People will scout. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like I've been to a couple Lorcana live tournaments lately. Like people were scouting and everyone was just like whatever. Like the people are watching. Like people are walking around before the tournament started trying to see what like we're shuffling up our decks. It's like, oh, what's that guy playing? Oh, look, there's an Amber Steel song deck. I need to be ready for that. Nobody cared.
Yeah. Or you got a buddy
And
walking
like,
around while you're playing and he comes back and he's like, "Oh, you should have seen this deck. It's crazy."
yeah, I
Yeah.
just don't care. Like it's let them scout. Whatever.
And
We're not even and we were playing for a $700 like promo card.
right. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's like people really wanted that. On Ashteki we're playing for what? Like maybe an alt art um like digital card that's not worth it. Like I don't know.
It's for the
I don't think
bragging
it's a big
rights.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
no,
think
and
you just
EB
let
Fritz
it go.
is saying this, at least with the color spread and the Phoenix Born, it's no different than when the game first starts and you have like you're looking at it, right? Like when I'm streaming, I do the same thing. I see the color spread. I'm trying to guess what both players are playing, so it'd be the exact same thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that could be cool. But what happens if you see like Koji and Sympathy? Does your mind think he's playing Join the Hunt? Because that's the real question here.
That's right. That's correct. Absolutely. Nowadays, join the hunt's meta. We heard it. Carl was killing people with it, and that makes it meta. And it's all because we talked about it, and I will take 110% credit for it.
Yeah, you can do that.
Um,
I thought it was
that's
ridiculous, and then I watched him play it, and I was just like, I would hate if I lost. I mean, it's like it's bad enough like losing to Carl when you think it's like this time I've got a real strong deck. It's gone, 5-0, and then you get crushed. But it's like if I lose to Join the Hunt, it's just an added. Just this is why now,
dude.
and it's because you
Join the
opened
hunt.
your mouth and said it.
Yeah, join the hunt is free. You play one die for it, and it's free for the rest of the game, and it adds attack. Man, it's that's value.
I think it's only
It's
going to
straight
be
value.
worse with Divine. All those 2-for-1s, or two. Well, not even
Yeah.
2-for-1s, but like I guess
Yeah, all
what
those
was
swarming
the
cards that
shield
put
was
two
two
bodies out.
twos. Yeah, two bodies.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
it's a good card. It's slept on a little bit.
I
Um,
guess with Wolf
if
and stuff, it's extra good, right? Too. Like if
yeah,
you
if
were
you
doing it
can
in
play
Kochi
something that goes wide,
or
yeah,
Fallen,
I think there's lots of application for it. My James probably. I mean, I played Salamander Monk in that James this morning.
amateur
I
decision.
did not get a lot. Yeah, did not get a lot of value out of that. Probably could have played Join the Hunt and been better
Yeah.
swinging wide. With honestly, probably could have.
Ah, got it.
I think it needs some consideration, man.
So watch it in your Blitz games. There's gonna be a Join the Hunt deck, and it's just gonna run you
There
over.
should be.
All right. So what's
Yes. Yes.
we haven't done, and not that I'm suggesting we do it, but we haven't spun the wheel of jank. But if we did, or if we just pick, let's just say we picked it. What is the next card that is like think
Ooh.
about legitimately undervalued, but that should see more play? So we've like through the course of time, we've gone through in some serious manner, like Vanish. I still legitimately think, especially if there's a lot of burn running around, is valid. I
Yeah,
think
Banished right now needs to be played more.
at the time before
There's no
Farewell
doubt about it.
existed, and while Creepers and some of those other like irritating units, Realm Walker things, like when those archetypes were big, Reflections in the
Yeah.
Water, I actually did slot a few times, and it was clutch. And I know that
Yep.
Shmeny had like a pretty nifty Jessa deck that used it on things like Ruin Dweller or no Turtle Guard, so that it could become an attacker and stuff like that. So what is the next card now? It's got to be, we got to decide, what is Carl gonna sweep the nation with?
I'm trying to pull up the card list, but because I need to find like look at it and see. But there's I have two cards that I think are slept on.
Okay.
I just saw from pulling up my latest two decks I built on Ashes.live.
Okay.
One of them is Steady Gaze,
Okay.
and that I've always thought Steady Gaze was good. Um, and I always thought it's a very underused removal card, and it just doesn't get it a lot of play because you need two illusion dice to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, especially now that you can't Golden Veil it in round one, like, and that's the only card that stops it,
Yeah.
and it's available to everybody. I think that's super slept on.
Okay.
Like locking down a battlefield spot for 2 rounds.
Yeah. No, big
Unless
big
they
deal.
have some kind of self clear, and I mean, you can, and that's value even over and above if you don't hit like a 3-die unit with it. Like you can hit a 2-die unit with Steady Gaze. You trade even in round one, but then you're up in round two by having a battlefield spot locked up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Steady Gaze is really, really good. And then the other one I always look at is Inflame. I feel like Inflame is such a good card that nobody plays.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Side action alterations are awesome. Number one. We've seen how good Will to Survive is. I mean, Will to Survive might be a better card. It's certainly um it's certainly a slower card than Inflame is, and it's a more grindy, like battlefield tradey type card. Inflame is a
Yeah.
bypass card,
Yes.
and it's it does a lot of things that, like, I think people either don't grasp the strength of, or we just haven't seen somebody abuse it correctly. I look at a card like Lightbringer that forces one of your guys to exhaust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Lightbringer forces their worst unit to exhaust itself, basically.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, unless they have a really good attack on board that they can make, that they were gonna make anyway. Um, when you played your Lightbringer, like that's the only time Lightbringer doesn't get great value. But if you don't play it in that situation, then usually it either makes their worst unit exhaust, or it forces them to um, commit to an attack earlier than they may have wanted. Right, that's what Lightbringer does. Inflame is going to make their worst unit exhaust also. Like because they're going to be forced to block something
Mm-hmm.
with their worst thing.
Yeah, and it's
And
really cool if you can combine the two. If you can set up
yes,
that 1-2 punch.
yeah, yeah. And then it's get rid of two guys, right away, and then that doesn't count stuff like Crescendo and Echo and other things. Um, because even with Lightbringer, you can main action Lightbringer, side action, and Flame in the same turn, right? Now you
Yeah.
have the Inflame sitting there waiting for next turn, and you can do a side action as well as your attack. Um, but like Inflame makes their worst unit exhaust, but it makes that worst unit exhaust against your worst one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't even get to pick who because you're gonna inflame a lot of times your worst thing and force them to block that instead of your awesome thing. I don't know. I just think Inflame's got a lot of untapped potential. And Bypass doesn't see a ton of play as anymore. Like not since the big Odette decks that have kind of fallen out of favor. I feel like recently we haven't seen the big massive bear Hydra type decks. Um,
Well, all of those
yeah,
are sort of dangerous. At least if you're first five, if playing it as a first five, those are all dangerous.
but I mean you can't first five Hydra. You never could. And usually that wasn't a first round thing.
Yeah.
It was more a second or third round thing. Um, but just bypass in general doesn't seem to usually be the way the meta goes because Ashes have tends to be a game that's just on trading. Like it's if you trade more efficiently than your opponent, you win. Like that's unless we're in then others Burns kind of taking things over, and I haven't felt the sting of that yet because I haven't been around. Well, I've just seen people complain about it. I haven't been being knocked out of tournaments by Burn yet. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the stuff I've always lost to is when I get out traded, and it's just feel like bypass is that third kind of win con that doesn't see as much play, and I think it has a place, and Inflame could help it get there.
Okay. Okay. So those are your two picks. Uh
Looks like Carl is on Shadow Strike,
Shadow Strike.
um,
Shadow
which
Strike
is a
has
cool card for sure.
been one of my favorite cards since I started the game because, especially with Lightbringer, right? Because, like you
Yeah,
said, it always wants to exhaust their worst unit. So if they're leaving behind a knight and you can Shadow Strike it, right? It's like a defensive crescendo. Um,
right.
it's so good, and especially now, with the the vast array of other sources of ping, it doesn't take much to kill anything of 4 life value. So that's a good one. I I should include it more, although I haven't really been playing a lot of time or illusion. Um, I think Law of Grace needs and might be forced to see more play if the burn meta continues. Because unlike other sources of heal, it's the only thing that really stops a lot of the burn plan in its tracks. And with Divine coming up, which is potentially very ally heavy and leads to decks that don't necessarily depend on the spell board for all of their units, it could be an easy option, right? If you have access to more 2-for-1s, then the idea of spending one extra die for a utility spell that covers your defense when you're going on that sort of swarmy swing plan is an easier sell than in a period where you are leaning more heavily on summon spells. So that's one. And then another one that, I mean, things like, Crescendo are just are good cards that weren't previously played. But I'm wondering about, I don't want to say Chaos Theory is right again, but
It usually is.
I know, I do wonder if Snakebite is being underplayed. I've only played with it once or twice, and again, it has that sort of utility spell potential issue. But in the right decks, I do find it can be quite powerful in terms of both an access to ping and also the natural synergy of charm debuffing things. So I'm wondering if it's a card that's being slept on, especially because Mill right now is not too popular. And then a third option, which is probably more realistic, um, in terms of I haven't seen it played, and I'm wondering if it's worth it, is Dealer's Choice. So
That's another fantastic bypass card that
it's a
doesn't get played a lot.
it's a bypass card that doesn't get played a lot. If people move towards utility spells or smaller spell boards and are more invested in units on the board, forcing like a lockdown for a die, especially if you're using it in conjunction with these other battle tricks that we're talking about, so Lightbringer or whatever else. Especially if you have ping to remove the small units and then force their larger units to have to exhaust. I think that one might be underplayed. I know certainly I haven't seen it in action, and there's a lot of decks that are fast and that want to go wide, and sometimes all you need is one fewer blocker. Noah, for
Yeah.
instance, if you can eliminate a small unit with your Shadow Blade and then play that on the big alert unit with whatever else, could open up some interesting plays. But yeah, like I Shadow saying I haven't seen any of these cards played ever. Yeah, Shadow. The jankiest usage of Dealer's Choice is exhausting your opponent's root armor. If Fritz, if you've seen that, that is a next level play. That is
Yeah.
interesting. If you're like, okay, you put a root armored hammer knight, exhaust the root armor or the knight. That's pretty funny. Yeah. So that. I mean, there's a lot of. Obviously, when illusion comes back, there's going to be a lot more tricks and spin down potentially coming back. I mean, I don't remember the last time we've seen outside of Hounds many illusion heavy. Like Lark's deck was the last one. I haven't seen, I don't know, Dreamlock Mage being played. I haven't seen any of the battle tricks being played. I see Matt
Dude,
on Shadow Spirit all the time, but that's a little bit different.
Dreamlock Mage is a sick card against burn. So why is that card not being played?
Nobody plays it because it's an illusion and nobody's playing illusion outside of Hounds. That's why.
I mean, like if we're all like, oh, Burn's killing everybody, like 2/3 of the burn spells just get wrecked completely by Dreamlock Mage, right? Unless they meditate up multiple dice.
Yeah, they have to
So,
go deep on the meditation, which isn't necessarily hard if they're playing like 5-4-1 or 5-3-2.
well, maybe it is. I mean, that 1 or 2 is usually sympathy, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you dream lock down, and then that you just take sympathy pain out of the game completely, unless until they kill your Dreamlock Mage.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's pretty good.
But like you also don't you like there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, when's the last time I haven't even seen False Demon or Dream Fracture around. Hell, I don't even see Gates being played lately. It's just there's virtually all the matches are whatever has come out in Red Ring, the RR cycle.
Yeah, well, again, that's what we do, right? We
Yeah,
play as a community. We play with the new stuff, and we don't push the envelope on the good stuff. Um, yeah, and I was just gonna say, and Shadow took it out of my took the words out of my mouth. He wants us to root armor a Dreamlock Mage. Maybe we should
yeah.
root armor the stupid thing and kill all the burn spells and make them meditate all their crap up. And maybe that's what we should do if burn's a big problem. Got
I
to
guess
wolf down, man.
the issue the issue is probably that the two current iterations of Burn are Astria and Jessa, which can immediately lock it down, at least round one, or remove it. Like Jessa, it was just gonna
Yeah,
fear it, and Astria is gonna um where beguile. So
yeah.
that's probably the round one issue, but yeah, definitely later on, because round one's
Yeah, I
generally
guess
not
Jessa
about
doesn't.
playing. You're not going to play the whole burn suite anyway, right?
Correct. Um, and I guess Jessa doesn't necessarily care too much about Dreamlock Mage because she's gonna get a lot of burn out of screams. But that's where Law of Grace wins. Like that Law of Grace is really good against her
It just shuts her out
specifically.
completely.
Yeah. I mean, and so is Choke, and nobody plays that either. So that there's a another card that could help, and Jessa specifically, and also takes Beguile away from Astria if we're worried about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
I don't know.
There's a lot that's going to change. I think in the Divine set. I think it's going to really switch things up. Not just because we're Cult of the New, but because the cards will force changes in the style of play. It opens up, the fast decks. It opens up the wide decks. It opens up um, some of that trickery,
yeah.
whether it's or even, I mean, who knows? Piercing Light might be the deck that comes, to finally succeed.
I hope so. I honestly doubt that, but I hope so. I would love a deck like that. I was Aspirant makes you really excited about Piercing Light when you first look at it until you realize that Aspirant also gets a bunch of other really good stuff.
Just gotta
It's
play James Piercing Light and aspirate every card that you can, and then
yeah.
shepherd all the aspirants back.
And I still go back to like the tutoring idea that I had the last time we talked about the podcast. Like I think that's a legitimate thing
Tutor every
that
card.
needs to be tried. Just like rip all the cards out of your deck in round one that you can, and make sure that you draw into stuff that you want to draw into in round two, or at least increase the odds substantially of what you want to see in round two and three by ripping all this crap out of your deck in round one.
You just need to find a way to include memorialize so that then any action spells you do drop, you can bring them back.
You just put them back in.
Figure it out.
Yeah. We'll see.
Who's the Phoenix Born
Yeah.
that is missing, do you think? That like Rowan was, well, I don't know if it was Carl that was making him good, but Rowan was popular for a while. I haven't seen him ever. I guess I haven't really seen too many Echoes or Rodettes around.
Yeah, Echo's one that I feel like is better than he gets credit for. I feel like Rin has fallen out of favor with the charm set, and Rin is ridiculously good.
I just lost to a Rin, so maybe I'm biased, but I've seen
I mean,
him around.
There's the right answer is probably Mayoni. She's never like I feel like nobody ever plays Mayoni, and she's probably awesome.
That's actually your bias of being away on work, because Fred took her to semi-finals.
All right, so at least someone's brought Mayoni back a little bit.
Yeah, but before that, virtually unseen. So, all right.
Yeah,
what else we got?
Xander's the other one. I feel like Xander's really good right now too, especially against Burn. Like that, I played Xander a couple times since I've been back, and it's done really well. I think he's very. If the when the meta is Burn heavy, I feel like Xander's a good call.
Well,
just with all of his beef.
In general, like the ones we've talked about, Echo, Odette, Xander, they're all big life Phoenixborn, and they all have ways of clearing the board and then getting the swings in. So
Harold hasn't really been around either, has he? Much. I haven't seen a lot of him.
No,
I feel like he'll be back when Divine pops in, because the game will get more battlefield focused, and then he'll come back.
He'll be back, if only by being carried on Inquisitor's back, because he'll come back and play the heck out of him.
Yeah.
Or James. I know there's going to be a lot of James being played. I haven't played James in ages, so
I hadn't either until this morning. But a lot of people are going to play him for sure.
Yeah. Eventually, I get back on that. Try and finish 10 games with every Phoenixborn. I only have 2 left, and I don't envy playing Auric or Victoria for 10 wins. So they might.
You gotta wait till the illusion set comes out for Victoria. I think Auric, you can do it. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with him. I still think the 40 life Auric is half decent. I think the burn decks are pretty good. I think he can do some stuff.
Yeah, I don't find him interesting. I don't know. For some reason, he does like
really?
It's just when I play against him, I'm frustrated because I inevitably lose. I don't have the wherewithal to counter his plan. But when I play him, something about it just doesn't click. Like, that you find some styles and you're just like, this is for me.
Yeah. And Rowan's that guy for me. I can't get him to work.
Same thing. Rowan is, I think, one of my worst statted. Oregon Rowan, there's something about the pacing of it, or the rush to try and use their abilities, which is probably wrong. I just can't make it work.
Yeah.
So
that's why there's 27 or 8 or however many Phoenixborn in this game. Don't have to be good with all of them.
Yeah.
But unless you're trying to do that. Unless you're trying to win 10 games with every one of them.
Get there eventually.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, we hit an hour quick.
Yeah, we did.
Didn't Shadow saying Brennan's the one that he can't get working. Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of people, especially post errata. I still have not tried really the bouncy castle thing, but one day. There's too much to try, and I can't keep up on the games.
Right.
This is why I like Blitz, though. Blitz is, I don't want to say it's the right way to play Ashes, because I do enjoy the deep in the tank things, but for getting in games and just, it's almost like the purity of it, the instinct of just, hey, I want to play Ashes, let's get a game, pop it in, boom. It feels really good. It's a nice change of pace. I don't know if we can mention something that is coming up, because Shara's gone, but I'm hoping that there is sort of this rotation of all the old formats of tournaments. Like, I want a team tournament. We need a team tournament again.
Those are
hasn't been around in ages. Shadow, I think he mentioned in the chat earlier, he was thinking of Carousel. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, and I'm guessing based off of the profile, it's no such is saying that 15 or 20 minutes player clocks are not a big deal. I agree. I think if you want to play a game and just pop one off on lunch, 20 minutes is like the perfect medium of not feeling too rushed but still getting it in. And you could easily do a best of 3, whereas sometimes I play
Yeah,
for an hour and it's like just, you know, at, maybe at most you're playing an hour, but you're probably just going to play 40 minutes if you get crushed or if you crush.
right.
So, I
Yeah, I
think
agree.
yeah.
I'd like to see some of the old tournaments come back too, and I do miss some of that hype, and I'd like to. It'd be nice to get some of that back. So some of my favorite like um streams and stuff they did were just like, here's all the decks, let's talk about them and hype them up. Like
Yeah,
that was so much fun to sit there and listen to, and we don't have that anymore.
the deck reveals. I
Yeah,
guess it's our responsibility to do some of
I
these
guess it
things. So
is.
we just need an
Like I said,
open tournament.
I'd be really happy to do one with just the Phoenix Morn and the colors
Yeah.
for the spreads, and like let's start with that and see if anybody gets hyped up about it. I'd be
Yeah.
up for that.
There was also that idea. I forget who said it. I think it was a guy, one of our East Asian players, who
Oh
was.
yeah,
He said that he was talking about the burn issue with his local group, and the idea was an exhaustion format where in a tournament or whatever you play a deck and then all of those cards cannot be played for the next game. Um,
yeah. I think he said like if you win, you can't use the cards you won with anymore.
right. And I think there are different, you could do different tweaks. I think you could have a Swiss format where you just get to, play that set of cards regardless of win or lose once
Right.
and, just pump through 5 games and go deep in the pool of,
Hmm.
of cards. I think, you could do it where it's the winner, sort of almost like a king of the hill type of thing. So it's the cards that lose get to keep on going, but if you win, you just dump them and see who can go the longest on different cards each time, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Um, but that would be really cool to see as well. I think that would be a
Yeah, I
neat
I, I
format that we
think
haven't tried.
that event, yeah, that event would be super fun. I'm all about deck building weird things, so an event like that just sounds like all the fun. So
Well, I mean, you have like 50 hours free, these days.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, we
do it.
can run an
We
event,
can
but I
run it.
mean, I know we're gonna start AIL up, so I don't want to run it over top of that. But I
Sure. Midsummer.
maybe after that, yeah,
Let's
maybe after
hammer
that,
out the
that's what we do.
details.
And
Put
do it.
together some minimal outline and then punt it to Carl or no such for the admin because we're kind of we're incapable of that side of things. We can do the
Does
streaming.
seem like we're bad at it.
Yeah, we can do the streaming. Someone needs to take it across the line. We're the idea guys.
Right.
Generate the ideas. Let someone else run with it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. We'll look at that.
All right. So we good?
I think so, man.
Yeah, this was a quick one.
It's
It was fun
yeah,
chatting.
nice easy one. I like it.
We just need to talk more. It's been too quiet. The server's been too
Yeah,
quiet.
like haven't done Casey in the car in a long time. Haven't done a lot of these little things. Need to bring Casey in the car back pretty soon.
Yeah, do little hits. We need like 15 minutes. Once a
Yeah.
week, like the little mini update. Like, here's what you've missed in Ashes.
Yeah.
What's your quick
Yeah.
take on this?
Right. That's what it used to be. It was like, hey, here's an idea. I'll talk about it for 10 minutes while I'm driving to work.
Yeah.
I need to bring that back.
All right. Well, I'm gonna. I think Bill is. He says thanks, and I think he's peacing out. And no such as saying we need more tournament organizers. Those of us who are active have pretty full bandwidth. Yeah,
I think you're probably right.
it's. We don't have time to discuss it, but honestly, Plaid Hat needs to do something. It can't just be once every 6 month AshCon.
AshCon and a tournament at Gen Con, and that's pretty much all there is.
Something. I am gonna be at Gen Con, so that'll at least be exciting. But I don't know. Even if it was once every 3 months, like just 4 times a year, just guaranteed. I don't care if it's related to a release. Just make it a thing. Just like here's a 1 week or 2 week long tournament, right? It doesn't. It could be pods. It could be whatever. Just make it a thing. Hell, do it like 20 minute ish best of 3. You could easily do that, right? That's already virtually what pods are, except you have longer. The only issue is people have trouble scheduling. So if you knew you could fit it all in an hour, just like, hey, do you have an hour?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Okay, best 2 of 3. Boom, done. Like whatever.
Right.
Go. Every 3 months. Can't be that onerous.
Yeah, it would be really cool to have some official support. I mean, I don't know how
because you see we get
feasible
like
that is.
50 to 70 players show up when those happen.
For AshCon, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. We just need that. And then if people I think come regularly, they and have that excitement of what's upcoming, they'll be more involved in the community instead of being intimidated or quiet or gone for 6 months.
Yeah, and if there was like good prizes to play for, it might drive some, or pull some people out. But I mean, those stone dice things they've given away are sweet.
Stone dice are cool.
Have you seen those?
There's still all the alt arts. There's however many plushies and all the other things that Nick had said, whatever, 15 episodes ago, that he still has.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, make it happen.
Let's do it.
Honestly, we're playing over sometimes nothing, and sometimes whatever no such has come up with as an alt art, and whatever Dijon, Colonel Mustard has put up, and that excites people. So can't be too hard.
Right.
Just can't be the same 5 people running the whole thing, the whole show.
Yeah.
All right,
guys. Time for me to go to bed.
Time for us all to peace out. But this is fun. We should do another quick one.
Absolutely.
In the near future.
Yep. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Good to chat with y'all. And you, sir.
Do you want to do the sign off? Because I mess it up every time.
I mean, look, at this point, you guys all know that if you're not janky, you're stanky. You got a frog up, you got a wolf down, you got a snake up, you got a lion on, you got a horse around. I forgot one. Goat. You got a goat back.
Yeah. And time.
Turtle power.
Turtle power, right? There you go.
That's what it is. There was a while where I had all 7 of them in the cadence to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles song. And I don't remember how it goes now, but it worked.
Perfect it for next time.
I'm going to figure that out for next time.
All right, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, Bill says frog up. That's the classic. There you go. Have a good one. We'll catch you next time.
Forget it. Take care, everyone. Peace. We'll see you.
Ciao.